They say secrets are like glass. Fragile, dangerous, and once shattered, impossible to piece back together without someone getting cut. For me, that someone was about to be me. I never thought I'd see the day when my own past, things I had trusted someone with, would be twisted into weapons against me. And the cruelest part, the person who wielded those weapons wasn't an enemy, but someone I once called a friend. Her name was Rachel. We had started at the company together, fresh-faced and hungry to prove ourselves. Rachel was charming, the kind of person who could turn any room into her stage. And I was the opposite. I kept my head down, worked hard, avoided the spotlight. But secrets have a way of slipping out, especially when you think you found someone safe enough to hold them. Late nights in the office, cups of coffee shared, whispered confessions when the world outside felt too heavy. That's when it happened. I told her about my struggles, about the mistakes I had buried deep. A failed project at my last job, a relationship that ended with humiliation, even something as small as my fear of being overlooked, of always being second best. And she listened, eyes wide, nodding, her hand brushing mine as if to say, "You're safe with me." What a fool I was. The first time I realized she had betrayed me was at a team meeting. My manager was grilling us about why a campaign had failed. Out of nowhere, Rachel tilted her head and said, "Well, maybe Sarah's just not confident leading projects. You know, considering what happened at her last company." My blood turned cold. My past, something I'd told her in confidence, was now hanging in the air like a storm cloud, with every eye turning toward me. I forced a smile. I can handle this project, but inside, I was unraveling. That was just the beginning. Over the next few weeks, Rachel slipped more and more of my secrets into conversations, each one perfectly timed to undermine me. She hinted to colleagues that I had bad judgment in relationships. She smirked when I froze during a presentation, whispering loud enough for others to hear. She gets nervous. Always has. The office became a cage. Every whisper, every laugh felt like it was about me. And worst of all, Rachel's star was rising. My fall was fueling her climb. One night, I sat alone in the break room, staring at my reflection in the vending machine glass. How did I let this happen? How could I be so careless? That's when Mark, a quiet IT guy who barely spoke to anyone, walked in. He looked at me, then at my coffee cup shaking in my hands. "You okay?" he asked softly. I wanted to say yes, but instead, the words tumbled out. "She's using everything I told her against me." His brow furrowed. "Rachel?" I froze. "How do you—" But before I could finish, the office lights flickered, and Mark gave me a look that made my stomach knot. "Let's just say, you're not the only one she's been playing, cliffhanger." My heart pounded. What did he mean? What secrets did Rachel hold about him, or worse, about others? And more importantly, what had she done that even he knew about? The next morning, the office buzzed louder than usual. People clustered in corners, eyes darting toward me and then away, as though they were afraid to be caught looking. I sat at my desk, pretending to type, but my ears caught snippets of conversation. Words like embarrassing and unprofessional. By lunch, I knew why. Rachel had struck again. An email. One I had sent weeks ago to Rachel in a moment of weakness. Venting about how I felt the team lacked direction, was now floating around the office. Edited. Twisted. As if I had been attacking our manager directly. I could practically hear Rachel's fake concern as she told people, "I just thought she needed to get it off her chest, but I guess I was wrong to keep it." The walls were closing in. My career, my reputation, everything I had worked for was slipping through my fingers. And then, like a shadow appearing when you least expect it, Mark showed up at my desk. His eyes flicked around, making sure no one was listening. "Meet me in the archives room after work," he whispered. "You need to see something." By the time the office cleared out, my nerves were raw. The archives room was dim, the hum of old servers filling the air. Mark was already there, hunched over a laptop. "She's not just using your secrets," he said without looking up. "She's collecting everyone's." I blinked. "What?" He turned the screen toward me. My breath caught. There, in neatly labeled folders, were dozens of files, emails, chats, personal notes, belonging to half the office. Every mistake, every slip-up, every piece of gossip, and right at the top of the list, in bold letters, Sarah. I scrolled, my stomach twisting. Everything I had ever confided in Rachel was there, documented like ammunition waiting to be fired. "How did you—" Mark sighed. "She's careless with her accounts. I noticed when she accessed my private messages once." I traced it back. "What you see here? It's just the surface." Anger burned in my chest, cutting through the fear. All this time I thought I was the only victim, but Rachel wasn't just betraying me. She was building an arsenal to control everyone. Mark's voice dropped lower. "She thinks she's untouchable, but if you're willing, we can turn this around." I stared at him. "What do you mean?" His lips curled into the faintest smile. "Use her own secrets against her. Cliffhanger." My pulse raced. Could I really play her game? Could I become the same kind of manipulator she was? Or was this the only way to finally stop her? The next morning I walked into the office, coffee in hand, ready to face a new day. But something was wrong, terribly wrong. The moment I stepped through the glass doors, heads turned. People whispered. Eyes followed me like hawks tracking prey. I froze mid-step, my heart pounding. Why are they looking at me like that? I muttered under my breath, clutching the coffee cup tighter. Then, as if fate wanted to torment me further, Samantha, one of the nosiest co-workers, walked past me with a smirk plastered across her face. "Morning, Rachel," she said sweetly. Too sweetly? I guess we all know now. My stomach dropped. Know what? I rushed to my desk, fumbling with my laptop, but before I could sit, I saw it, on the office group chat. My deepest, most personal secret was blasted for everyone to see. The caption read, "Careful who you trust. Some people have interesting hobbies outside of work." Attached was a screenshot, a private message I had once sent Laura when I thought she was my friend. I had confided in her about my past struggles with anxiety, about how I sometimes felt like I wasn't good enough. She was the only one I had trusted with that. Now everyone knew. I could hear the murmurs. "Did you see that?" Wow, she hid it well. No wonder she acts so desperate to please everyone. Tears burned in my eyes, but I forced them back. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction. I sat down, straightened my back, and pretended to work, though the words on my screen blurred through the haze of humiliation. I looked across the room and saw Laura. She was leaning casually against the printer, chatting with someone, her expression smug. When our eyes met, she didn't even flinch. She just smirked. Slow, deliberate, cruel. That smirk said everything. I own you now. The rest of the day dragged like a slow death. Every time I walked past someone, I could feel the invisible arrows of judgment piercing me. My secret was no longer mine. It was her weapon, and she had just fired the first shot. But little did she know, I wasn't done. I wasn't broken, because secrets, they cut both ways, and she had forgotten something very important. She had secrets too. Cliffhanger. Would Rachel expose Laura, or would she crumble first under the weight of her humiliation? That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment in my mind. The betrayal, the laughter, the whispers. At first all I felt was shame, but as the hours ticked by, shame hardened into anger. Anger sharpened into something darker. Revenge. I sat up, my eyes wild, my chest heaving. If Laura wanted a war, she was going to get one. The next morning I walked into the office with my head high. Fake smiles greeted me, but I ignored them. I only had one target. Laura. I began to watch her carefully. Her habits, her patterns, her weaknesses. The way she lingered too long near the boss's office. The way she laughed a little too loudly with clients. The way she sometimes slipped away for phone calls she didn't want anyone to overhear. She thought she was untouchable, but no one is untouchable. One evening, when most people had left, I stayed behind, pretending to finish work. That's when I heard it. Laura in the copy room, whispering frantically on the phone. I crept closer, heart pounding, and caught just enough to understand. No, I told you not to call me here. Yes, he can't find out. If he does, I'll lose everything. My lips curled into a smile. So, the perfect Laura wasn't so perfect after all. The next day I planted my first seed. I casually mentioned to a colleague, I wonder why Laura always takes secret phone calls in the copy room. I said it innocently, like an observation, but I knew how rumors worked. Like wildfire, they spread. Within a week, whispers weren't about me anymore. They were about her. She's hiding something. Do you think she's involved with someone? Why does she look nervous all the time now? I watched her crack little by little. Her smug smirk started fading, replaced by tight, forced smiles. But I wasn't done, not even close. I was just getting started. Because I had a plan. One that would not only silence her, but also turn her own weapon against her. And when I was finished, Laura would learn a lesson she would never forget. You don't destroy someone's soul without paying the price. Cliffhanger. What was Laura's secret, and how far would Rachel go to uncover and use it against her? Laura had always been the queen bee of the office, perfectly dressed, perfectly poised, with everyone orbiting around her like she was the sun. But queens can bleed, and I was about to draw the first drop. The whispers I had planted were working faster than I'd imagined. At first it was just small talk, co-workers speculating, trading theories about her secret phone calls. But soon the atmosphere shifted. I saw it in their eyes. The same judgment they had once reserved for me was now aimed at her. And Laura noticed. At lunch one day, she sat at the table with her usual clique, but something was off. Her friends weren't laughing at her jokes as hard. They weren't hanging on her every word. They were distracted, whispering, and she hated it. I watched from a distance, taking a slow sip of my coffee, savoring the taste of justice. Later that week, she stormed into the break room while I was there, slamming her bag onto the counter. What are they saying about me? She snapped, her eyes blazing. I feigned innocence. About you? Nothing. Why? Her nostrils flared. Don't play dumb, Rachel. I know you hear things. I tilted my head, letting a sweet smile curl on my lips. Maybe people are just curious. You do take a lot of secret phone calls. I'm sure it's nothing serious. Her face paled. She opened her mouth to fire back, but then closed it again. That hesitation told me everything. She was hiding something big. And the best part? I didn't even need to dig too deep. She was unraveling all on her own. A few days later, I got my chance. Laura left her phone on her desk while rushing to the restroom. My heart raced as I glanced around. Empty office. I picked it up, hesitated for a split second, then unlocked it. Her password? Pathetic. Her birthday. The screen lit up, and what I saw nearly made me gasp. Messages. Dozens of them. From someone saved only as J. Last night was risky, but worth it. If your husband finds out, we're finished. Don't call me during work. It's dangerous. My hand trembled. Laura, the office angel. the woman who paraded around like she was untouchable, was having an affair. And not just that. She was hiding it from her husband. I put the phone back just in time, heart still pounding, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I had found her secret, her real secret, and now it was mine to use. Cliffhanger. Would Rachel expose the affair immediately, or build the perfect trap to make Laura destroy herself? I didn't rush. No, rushing was sloppy. This required patience, precision, a puppet master's touch. Laura thought she had destroyed me by exposing my private struggles. But that was child's play compared to what I was about to unleash. I started small, just like she had. I whispered to one co-worker during lunch, making sure my voice was just loud enough to travel. Funny how Laura's husband never visits the office. You'd think she'd introduce him, right? Unless, maybe she has something to hide. The seed was planted. By the next day, it had sprouted. She's been acting weird lately. Always on her phone, always nervous. I bet she's hiding something from her husband. And Laura? She could feel it. The walls were closing in. One afternoon, I caught her cornering Samantha, the office gossip. "What are you hearing?" Laura demanded, her voice tight. Samantha shrugged, but her eyes gleamed with mischief. "Oh, nothing. Just some people saying maybe your marriage isn't as perfect as you make it seem." Laura's face flushed crimson. "That's ridiculous," she snapped, storming away. I nearly laughed out loud. She was breaking, cracking right before my eyes, but whispers alone weren't enough. I wanted her to taste the same public humiliation she had forced down my throat. So, I waited for the perfect moment, the quarterly company dinner. Everyone would be there, co-workers, managers, clients. A stage, an audience, all eyes watching, and I would make sure Laura's mask slipped in front of them all. In the days leading up to it, I gathered my evidence. Screenshots of her messages, photos of her sneaking outside to make calls, even a voice recording I caught by accident when she hissed into the phone. "You can't call me when he's home. Do you want me to get caught?" The evidence was a ticking time bomb in my pocket. The night of the dinner arrived. The restaurant buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, polished speeches. Laura sat across the table, dazzling in a red dress, playing her role as the golden girl. But behind her fake smile, I saw the tension in her eyes. She knew something was coming. She just didn't know what. As I raised my glass to toast, I felt the room's energy shift, because tonight wasn't just a company dinner. Tonight was Judgment Day. Cliffhanger. Would Rachel reveal Laura's affair in front of everyone? Or twist the knife in a way no one saw coming? The restaurant was warm and elegant, its crystal chandeliers casting golden light over clinking glasses and quiet laughter. Everyone was relaxed, except Laura. She looked flawless, as always, her crimson dress shimmering under the lights, her hair sculpted into glossy perfection. But perfection is a fragile mask. Behind her polished smile, I caught the tightness in her jaw, the way her fingers tapped against her wine glass. She was waiting for the other shoe to drop, and I was holding it. The speeches began, our manager thanking the team, applauding milestones, praising productivity. I applauded with everyone else, but my mind wasn't on the words. My heart pounded like a drumbeat, matching the rhythm of Laura's growing panic. When my turn came to give a small toast, something about perseverance and teamwork, I stood, glass raised, and smiled. "To surviving challenges," I began, letting my gaze lock with Laura's. "And to remembering that truth always finds its way to the surface, no matter how carefully it's hidden." A ripple of murmurs passed through the table. Laura's smile faltered. Her glass trembled slightly in her hand. I didn't say her name. I didn't need to. Later, As the night wound down, I excused myself and slipped into the hallway where coats were hung. My pulse raced. It was time. I pulled out my phone and sent a single message to an anonymous number Laura's husband used for his work. Thought you should know what your wife's been up to. Check her messages with J. Attached were screenshots. Every damning line, every secret rendezvous, I pressed send. My hands shook, but not with fear, with power. When I returned to the table, Laura's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and in that instant, her face drained of color. She snatched it up, eyes wide, lips trembling as she read. I knew it was him, her husband, and just like that, the Queen's crown slipped. The rest of the night was chaos. Laura excused herself abruptly, muttering something about a family emergency, her mask completely shattered. The whispers around the table grew louder. People exchanged looks. No one believed her excuse. I sat back, sipping my wine, and let the storm unravel her cliffhanger. What would happen when Laura faced her husband at home? And would the fallout spill back into the office? The next morning, the office was buzzing, not with work, but with gossip. She looked sick last night. Did you see how fast she left? Her husband picked her up. He looked furious. The story spread like wildfire, and I didn't need to add fuel. Laura had dug her own grave with her guilty expression. When she finally arrived at the office, she wasn't the same Laura. Her once pristine hair was slightly undone, her makeup smudged around the eyes. She walked slower, her posture slumped. She looked human, for the first time. I almost pitied her. Almost. At her desk, she avoided eye contact. The phone that never left her hand now sat face down, as if it burned to touch it. She didn't bark orders. She didn't smirk at my expense. She was quiet, and everyone noticed. By lunchtime, Samantha cornered her. "Everything okay at home, Laura?" she asked sweetly, feigning concern but dripping with malice. Laura's lips quivered. "Mind your business," she hissed, pushing past, but it was too late. The office sharks smelled blood in the water. Later that afternoon, our boss called her into his office. The door closed, muffling voices, but the tension in the air was thick. Minutes turned into nearly an hour. When she emerged, her face was pale, eyes red from holding back tears. She packed her bag silently, her hands trembling. The whispers grew louder. "Is she fired?" "She's never been this quiet." "What happened to her?" I watched as she walked past me, her once confident heels clicking hollowly against the floor. Our eyes met for the briefest second, and in that glance I saw it. The realization. She knew. She knew it was me, but she couldn't prove it. She opened her mouth, as if to say something, but no words came. She lowered her gaze and left. And just like that, the woman who had once destroyed me with my own secrets was gone, her empire of lies crumbling around her. But the story wasn't finished. Because while Laura had fallen, I wasn't sure what kind of chaos her husband, or Jay, might unleash next cliffhanger. Had Rachel truly won? Or had she just set loose a bigger storm she couldn't control? The office had been eerily quiet without Laura's presence. People worked more freely, laughter returned to the break room, and even the air seemed lighter. But freedom carries its own shadow. A week after Laura's collapse, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Rachel," the voice said, low and trembling. It was Laura. For a moment, I didn't breathe. "You think you won," she whispered, her voice raw, cracked from sleepless nights. "But you don't understand what you've unleashed." "What do you mean?" I asked, my pulse spiking. A bitter laugh rattled through the line. "You think my husband's anger will end with me? No, Rachel. He wants names. He wants to know who sent him those messages. He thinks it was one of my partners. He's tearing through my life, through everything. And if he finds out it was you... The call ended abruptly. I stood frozen, the words echoing in my mind. If Laura's husband connected the dots, I could be dragged into the wreckage I had set in motion. Later that evening, as I walked to my car in the office parking lot, a man's voice stopped me. "You're Rachel?" I turned. A tall man in a sharp suit leaned against a black sedan, his face shadowed by the fading sun. His eyes glimmered with cold calculation. "Yes," I said carefully. He stepped closer. "I'm Jason, Laura's husband." The air left my lungs. He studied me with unnerving precision. "She mentioned you once or twice. Spoke highly of you, actually. But now..." He smirked faintly. "Now I wonder." I forced a polite smile, every muscle screaming at me to run. "I don't know what you mean." Jason tilted his head. "Secrets are dangerous things, Rachel. They cut both ways. Laura forgot that. Don't make the same mistake." He walked away, leaving me trembling beside my car. I thought I had won. But Laura was right. This storm was far from over. Cliffhanger. Was Jason warning me? Or threatening me? And how much did he already know? Days blurred into each other, every moment haunted by Jason's shadow. I jumped at unknown numbers, flinched at footsteps behind me, and lived with a constant knot in my stomach. But strangely, Laura never returned. Rumors swirled. She had moved out of the city, filed for separation, was staying with family. Whatever the truth, her world had shattered, and mine had changed. My boss called me into his office one afternoon. He closed the door, leaned forward, and said the words I had once thought I'd never hear. "Rachel, with Laura gone, we need someone reliable to handle her accounts. Someone strong, someone trustworthy. I think that person is you. Promotion, power, respect." Everything Laura had stolen from me was finally mine. But as I signed the paperwork and accepted the congratulatory smiles of my colleagues, a part of me felt hollow. I had fought fire with fire, secrets with secrets, and though I had won, the ashes of Laura's downfall clung to me. That night, alone in my apartment, I stood at the window overlooking the city lights. My reflection stared back at me. Stronger, yes, but harder too. My phone buzzed with a final message from an unknown number. "You may have destroyed Laura, but remember, secrets never stay buried forever. Jay." I locked the phone, exhaled shakily, and whispered to myself, "She used my secrets against me. But in the end, I turned them back on her. The war was over, but the scars of revenge would never fully fade.